Hello, everyone. So, as I was transversing through Twitter yesterday, I came across one of the probably the most absurd clip from Newsmax I think I have ever seen. Check out this clip. It's a Newsmax host going on about vaccines and why he's seemingly against them. Take a look at this and then we'll talk about it.
I've one thing I've always thought, and maybe you can guide me on this because obviously I'm not a doctor, but when I've always thought about vaccines, and I always think about just nature and the way everything works, and I feel like a vaccination in a weird way is just generally kind of going against nature. Like, I mean, if there is some disease out there, maybe there's just an ebb and flow to life where something's supposed to wipe out a certain amount of people, and that's just kind of the way evolution goes. Vaccines kind of stand in the way of that. Do you follow what I'm saying? Does that make sense to somebody in medicine?
Well, there are some reports that support what you're saying. There's one by Neeson and colleagues from Boston and the Mayo Clinic that shows among vaccinated populations, the diversity of different strains is narrowing. So it's going to be fewer numbers of strains. Right now in the United States, we're about 40% UK variant or the Alpha variant, and we're about 30% now Delta, which is the Indian variant. They get progressively weaker, but the diversity is changing with vaccination. And I think probably the best way to think about it is vaccines really ought to be targeted to protect the highest risk individuals. A young person like you, if you got COVID, it's very easily treatable. You get through it. And natural immunity for sure is superior.
Yeah, that's you make a good point there. Again, it's like if you've got this big risk, I think it might be worth whatever it is. But if you don't have a risk, I can't comprehend why you would take something. They start learning about the heart inflammation and stuff like that. I just don't understand why it's being pushed so hard on people that are very young, and now they're trying to give it to kids. You saw today, the CDC saying that going back to school in the fall, it looks like if your kid's not vaccinated, they're going to have to wear a mask next year. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I hope that we are all in agreement in that clip was easily one of the most preposterous things I've ever witnessed in my entire life. This guy has no idea what he's saying, and I don't even think he knows that. He probably thinks that. See, the sad part about this is he just said all that, and he probably thinks he's like onto something. Like, oh, I got a point here, or oh, here we go. I'm talking about something good. He probably thought that was one of the best segments he's ever done. And that says a lot about him and his intelligence. But let's get into this. So he starts off by saying, well, I'm no doctor. Okay, stop right there. You're no doctor. You're no expert. Just stop right there. Don't push your narrative. Don't insinuate anything because you know nothing. But he goes on. So he says, I've always thought about nature. Define nature. What do you mean by that? He just, I've always thought about nature and how nature works. And, vaccines they go against nature. Or he says creating a vaccine is going against nature. And then he goes on to say that some diseases should wipe out a certain amount of people. And he says, quote unquote, that's the way that evolution goes. So I guess in this guy's mind, this country, this world basically is like, I don't know, the Hunger Games or some shit, and only the strong survive. Or so I don't know what he's insinuating. He's basically saying that vaccines are unnatural. Okay, they're created unnaturally, and a disease in his eyes is natural, and so we should just let it wipe out however much of people it's gonna wipe out. If there's a plague, let it run rampant and kill off as many people as it can, and then eventually it'll just go away due to naturality, due to nature. I mean, what kind of absurd ideology allows a person to come to this kind of conclusion when talking about a virus that we are currently trying to cure? He says that vaccines stand in the way of that. Basically saying they stand in the way of how evolution goes. I got news for you, guy. I don't know his name, but I got news for you. That's what's supposed to happen. Vaccines are supposed to stop what he refers to, that certain amount of people that's supposed to die. That's what happens. When polio was running rampant, the polio vaccine was created. No more of that. I mean, you get flu shots. There's vaccines for so many types of diseases that we have quelched over the years. So we're just supposed to let these diseases come through, run rampant, and kill people? That's his conclusion here because it defies the way of nature, evolution, something. I seriously, I'm having a tough time trying to grasp his point here. Allow me to make a point. You drive a car, don't you? Yeah. By that logic, cars go against nature. They do. Cars were artificially created. Are you going to stop driving your car? Are you going to walk everywhere you go? Are you going to use a horse and carriage? I mean, I'm honestly confused. What about all the technological advancements we've made over the years? Are you going to throw away your cell phone? He makes absolutely no sense. Are you going to stop using a stove to cook your food? Are you going to run outside and burn some wood to heat up your ramen noodles or whatever the fuck it is you eat? This guy makes no sense. And then I love how he asked the other guy, I don't know who his name is. He's probably some expert. You know how they are with these experts, right? That's red ink on my hand, by the way. I'm not bleeding. But you know how they are with these experts. And the guy comes in and he says that, you know, there are reports that support what you're saying. And then goes on to ramble about seemingly something else. What reports? What at all supports what this idiot is saying right now? And then he goes on to say, if you're not at risk, why take the vaccine? Or if you're not at an extreme risk, like if you're not an elderly person, a person that has diabetes, pre-existing conditions, things of that nature. If you're a person like me, a young person, relatively healthy, you know, no kind of existing ailments going on, why would you want to take the vaccine? I got an answer for you. To stop from spreading it. Yeah. And then he fearmongers and says, oh, they're trying to give it to kids now. And then he goes on to say, oh, well, the CDC is saying kids might have to return to school in the fall with masks on still. Yeah, if that's what needs to happen, then that needs to happen, if that is what's required. But these people, they offer no kind of adequate conclusions. They offer no kind of evidence, no statistics to back up the nonsense that they're saying. I mean, this right here is just insanity right here. This is idiocy. I mean, that's what this is. He's just flat out wrong. Vaccines are going against nature, and he thinks that diseases should wipe out a certain amount of people because that's just the way that this works. It's evolution. You can't stop it. I mean, what the fuck? We're humans. It's in human nature to prevent bad things from occurring. And that's currently what we're trying to do. But apparently, to this dumbass, we're not supposed to do that. And we're supposed to let coronavirus kill as many people as possible. Don't take my word for it. Take his, because he just said it.